What's going on, guys? It's Gavin here again from Deep Blue Tutorials. Now this is just a quick tutorial to kind of style up our website a bit. The WordPress website we've created so far, while it does address some of the key things you need to learn, it's just ugly. And I think everybody will agree with that. So we're just going to add a few styles to it. Nothing major, nothing that will test your skill in any way at all. All we're going to do is make it look a little bit nicer, because it is a lot easier to work on nicer sites than working on something that you can't even fathom where parts of it are coming from. So all we're going to do is we're going to make it look a bit nicer, and all you have to do is follow along. I'm just going to go through the CSS and add styles to it and hope they work out, really. So let's get straight into it. So the body I'm going to leave alone. The footer text, I think we've seen on the site, the footer text is kind of grey. I'm just going to change that to white. So go color FFF. Now the wrapper, I'm going to change this to 920 pixels, but I'm going to give it padding all over of 20 pixels. I'm going to leave its background color, and I'm also going to give it a border radius, which is a CSS3 style, so it won't work on older browsers, but I presume everybody's using the newer browser by now, so we'll just give that a border radius. Because we've reduced the size of the margin, or the size of the wrapper, and added padding to it, we're going to have to reduce the size of this main bit. So we're going to reduce by 20 pixels, so just add it to 580 pixels. Same with the sidebar here. I'm going to reduce this from 300 pixels to 258 pixels. And I'll show you why now. I'm going to give this padding of 10 pixels, and I'm going to give it a background of a very light grey. So say something like EF. I'm also going to give this a border radius of maybe 4 pixels, and I'm going to give it a border of 1 pixel solid and a bit of a darker grey, so maybe DE, just a slightly darker shade of grey. Now the heading we have in the sidebar, which I'll show you now on the About Us page, this heading is kind of the same size as this heading here, so we're going to change that as well, just to make it a little smaller and nicer to look at. So we're going to go dot sidebar H2, I think it is, and we'll set the font size to 120%, which will still be smaller, and I'll set the text align to center. And we'll save that now, and we'll have a look and see what it's done so far. There you go, our sidebar looks a little nicer there. If we go to our home page, not much change there, or our blog page, but the sidebar does look a little nicer. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a style to the nav bar. Now if you remember, when we were creating our nav bar, we created a div around our nav bar. So around the unordered list, we created this div here called navbar. I'm just going to add a style to that. So we'll say background, and I'm going to set the background of this to be the background of what we had our links. So we're going to give that a background, because it is bad practice to add a background to your links. So we're going to delete that from the link, and we're going to keep the background there. We're going to set a width of our navigation bar to 920 pixels, which should fit inside the wrapper. And we'll set a height of it to 48 pixels. As for the unordered list in the nav bar, I'm going to take the padding out of that, because if you'll notice, the padding or the unordered list was indented a bit on the page. Our list items we will leave be. Now there is a word, we're going to go to our site here. Because we're on the home page, I'm going to inspect this element in Google Chrome. You can just view source if you want. But this home page item here, the link itself is inside a list item. And this list item, because we're on the home page, WordPress automatically gives it this style here, which is current page item. So it automatically gives it a class called current page item. And we're going to use that to our advantage. So over here, we're going to set the current page item to be a slightly darker shade of blue. So current page item, and I'm going to set that to be a background of 4B7 AAA, and that should be that. We'll give our list items a hover effect as well. So if you hover over a list item, we should see just a slightly lighter shade of grey, or a slightly lighter shade of blue, should I say. So we say 5C7BBB. And our list, or our links in our list, we have, I don't know what we should change here. Maybe we'll give them a border on to the right of each link. Say one pixel, solid, and we'll just give it a slightly darker shade. 3A5999. And we're going to get rid of the text decoration, so no underline under it. And we got a few more styles. We're going to reduce the size of our H1s on the page. So we'll say font size 150%, and that will reduce it, even though it doesn't look like it should. We're going to set our posts, which are only shown on the loop for our news feed or our blog feed, or else on the actual post page itself. We're just going to give them a margin on the bottom because they were appearing right beside each other or right under each other. So we say 30 pixels. And each post has a H1A, or each post's title is wrapped in a H1 tag. And because it's a link, it has the A tag around it. So we're going to give that a color of that blue we've been using. So 6D8CCC. Again, we're going to get rid of the text decoration. And we're going to give that a hover effect as well. So we will give that a hover effect of a darker blue. So #4B6 AAA. And with our paragraphs, we're just going to reduce the font size because they were looking a bit big, and we'll give them a bigger line height just to make it much more readable. Let's say 16 points. And our post details use a H6 tag. That's the post details. That would be when the post date, posted on March 11th or whatever. We're going to just change that around a bit and make it look a bit nicer. So background, that very light shade of grey. Padding, we'll give it 10 pixels. Border radius, again CSS3. We'll set that to 4 pixels. Border, 1 pixel solid, and we'll set that to a darker grey. Color, we'll just go slightly lighter grey than the actual paragraph style, and we'll set the font style to italic. And another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add an image to my logo. So on the header file here you'll see H1 Ahref, and we have Deep Blue Tutorials written here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the H1, and inside this link, instead of text, I'm just going to put img source equals images slash logo dot jpeg alt equals Deep Blue Tutorials. And now I'm going to create that folder, and I'm going to put my image in there. So we'll go to our WordPress directory, examp, htdocs, WordPress, WP content, themes, deep blue, and I'm going to create a new folder here. We call that images, and inside here I'm going to put this logo file that I have. You can put whatever logo you want in there. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it into this images folder here. And that should work fine. So if we go back to our site now and press reload, now it's not finding that image. And I'll tell you, a very stupid mistake for a WordPress tutorial. we've set that to images/logo.jpg, but it can't find the images folder or the images directory because again we're using WordPress. So we have to use this blog info function again, and this would be a good time to introduce it actually. So in here we go, open our PHP, blog info, close our PHP, and inside this blog info we're going to pass the parameter template directory, and then we're going to put a / over here, and this template directory points to the actual files in your theme, or the actual directory where your theme is. So my theme is Deep Blue, so that's the directory it's going to point to. And now that we've saved this file, now it should show, and there you go. We have our logo shown, we have our navigation showing there, and actually we have a little bug in our navigation as well. So what we can do there is go to our style and remove that margin right on the A tag in the list, and that should be it now. And finally, we have our WordPress site looking a little bit nicer. This actually took a lot longer than I thought it would now, but again, the CSS should be fairly simple to follow by. It's nothing too hard at all. This horizontal menu is probably the hardest of it all, and even then we already had it mostly set up. So thanks for watching, guys. Please feel free to like and subscribe, and next time we'll be moving on with more WordPress stuff. We'll be getting away from all this CSS again. So I'll see you next time.